Quick like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. You know that feeling when something's wrong, but you can't quite identify it? That nagging sense that reality doesn't match what you're being told. I'm a chemist. I work with compounds, formulas, precise measurements. I trust my senses, especially my sense of smell. It's literally part of my job. So when my wife started coming to bed every night smelling like a shower gel I'd never purchased, never seen in our bathroom, never noticed on any store shelf, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know how wrong until I found out where that smell was really coming from. My name is Owen. I'm 37 years old, and I work as a research chemist for a cosmetics company in Atlanta, Georgia. I spend my days analyzing fragrance compounds, identifying ingredients in products, and distinguishing between similar scents with subtle differences. I can tell you the difference between lavender essential oil and synthetic lavender. I can identify whether a citrus note comes from lemon, bergamot, or grapefruit. I can detect trace amounts of musk in a complex perfume blend. My sense of smell is trained, professional, precise, which is why I noticed immediately when my wife started smelling different. I met Vanessa 9 years ago at a friend's dinner party in Midtown Atlanta. She was working as a graphic designer, creative and artistic in ways I wasn't. I was the science guy, more comfortable with lab equipment than social situations. She made me feel less rigid. I gave her stability. We balanced each other perfectly. We got married 8 years ago, bought a townhouse in Virginia Highland, a renovated 1920s space with exposed brick, original hardwood floors, and natural light that Vanessa loved for her home design studio. She continued freelancing as a designer, building a steady client base. I advanced to senior research chemist. Combined income around $175,000. We were comfortable, creative, building our life together. For 7 years, everything was predictable. Predictable in a good way. I knew Vanessa's routines, her preferences, her patterns, including what she smelled like. This might sound strange to most people, but to a fragrance chemist, scent is identity. I could recognize Vanessa in a dark room just by her scent profile. It's a combination of natural body chemistry, the product someone uses, their environment, their habits. Vanessa used the same products for years. I knew them all because I'd helped her select them. Professional hazard of being a cosmetics chemist married to someone who appreciated quality skincare. She used a specific shampoo I'd recommended, a coconut-based formula with a clean, slightly sweet top note and a warm, creamy base. A body wash from a premium line with chamomile and vanilla undertones, soothing, gentle, with excellent skin conditioning properties. A body lotion with shea butter and light floral accents. Nothing overpowering, just a subtle compliment to her natural chemistry. I could identify each product by scent with my eyes closed. I'd helped formulate similar compounds at work. I knew the molecular structure of the fragrance components. Her scent profile was as familiar to me as my own reflection in the mirror. Then, 3 months ago, that profile changed. It started subtly. One evening in late June, Vanessa came to bed after her usual nighttime shower, and something smelled different. Not drastically different. She still had undertones of her normal products. But my trained nose caught something else immediately. There was a new note layered on top. Something aquatic. Fresh. With a slight eucalyptus undertone and a synthetic musk base. The profile of a men's body wash. Very distinctive. Very much not part of her usual routine. I turned toward her as she settled into bed. Did you change your body wash? What? No. Why? You smell different tonight. Like there's a new product mixed in. I don't think so. Maybe it's your imagination. My sense of smell doesn't imagine things. There's definitely a different scent. Something aquatic with eucalyptus notes. She laughed a little awkwardly. You and your chemist knows. I promise I'm using the same stuff I always use. But I knew what I was detecting. The scent was there. Clear as day to someone trained to identify fragrance compounds in concentrations as low as parts per million. I didn't push it that night. Maybe she had tried a sample at a store and didn't remember. Maybe she'd borrowed something from a friend. People do that. But the next night, same thing. That same aquatic, eucalyptus-tinged scent. Definitely a men's product. Definitely not something Vanessa had ever used before in our 8 years together. I knew her scent profile. This wasn't it. Are you sure you didn't change anything? I asked on the second night. There's definitely a different scent. I can identify the individual notes. It's got eucalyptus, synthetic aquatic compounds, probably some kind of cooling agent like menthol. Owen, I'm using the same stuff I always use. You're being weird about this. I'm not being weird. I'm a fragrance chemist. I notice scents. And you're wearing something that's definitely not your usual profile. Well, I'm not using anything different. So maybe you should trust me instead of interrogating me about shower products like I'm one of your lab samples. The defensiveness surprised me. I'd asked a simple, factual question about a product change. It was the kind of thing we discussed dozens of times over the years. I was always recommending new formulations, helping her understand ingredient lists, explaining why certain products worked better than others. This time, she'd responded like I'd accused her of something serious. Over the following weeks, the pattern continued and intensified. Every single night, Vanessa came to bed with that same aquatic, eucalyptus scent. And every single night, she insisted she wasn't using anything new. I started tracking it like I track data in the lab. Professional habit. When you notice an anomaly, you document it. Night 1. Aquatic eucalyptus profile detected at approximately 10:15 p.m. Strength, moderate. Night 2. Same profile, approximately 10:30 p.m. Strength, moderate. Night 3. Same profile, 10 p.m. Strength, strong. After 2 weeks of consistent detection, I did what any chemist would do. I investigated our bathroom. I checked every product we owned. The shower had Vanessa's usual coconut shampoo, chamomile body wash, and a separate conditioner. The cabinet under the sink held backups of the same products. The medicine cabinet had her face wash, my shaving cream, toothpaste, dental floss. Her side of the vanity had her moisturizers, serums, the shea butter lotion I recognized by scent. Nothing aquatic. Nothing eucalyptus. Nothing remotely close to the scent profile I was detecting on her every night. So where was the smell coming from? I checked my own products. Maybe I bought something new and the scent was transferring from me to her. But no, I used the same basic, unscented products I'd used for years. Fragrance-free body wash and deodorant. Nothing that would explain what I was detecting on Vanessa. I checked her laundry detergent, thinking maybe she'd changed brands. But we used the same fragrance-free, hypoallergenic detergent we'd always used. I'm sensitive to artificial fragrances and cleaning products, so we'd been careful about that for years. The scent wasn't coming from anything in our house, but it was consistently present on Vanessa every single evening. I started paying closer attention to patterns, not just to the scent, but to when it appeared and under what circumstances. The smell was always present after Vanessa's evening shower, but only after her evening shower. In the mornings, when we'd wake up together, she smelled normal, residual traces of her usual products, plus her natural chemistry. Nothing unusual. By the time I got home from work around 6 p.m., if I hugged her, she'd smell like her normal self. Maybe a hint of her work environment, the paper and ink from her printing supplies, sometimes the faint chemical smell of spray adhesive. But after her evening shower, between 9:30 and 10:30 p.m., that's when the aquatic eucalyptus scent would appear. Every single night. Why do you shower twice a day now? I asked one evening about 3 weeks into my observations, trying to sound casual. That's new, isn't it? I don't shower twice. What are you talking about? Your hair is wet. You showered when you got home from your studio visit around 6. Now it's 10, and you just showered again before bed. I got sweaty during the day. I wanted to rinse off before bed. Sweaty from what? You work at a desk. I don't know, Owen. Just from the day. From stress. Why are you tracking my shower schedule? I'm not tracking. I'm noticing a pattern change. You've showered once a day for 8 years. Now you're showering twice. Is that a crime? Am I not allowed to shower in my own house? Again, the defensiveness. Way out of proportion to the observation I'd made. I noticed other behavioral changes too. Patterns that, individually, might not mean much. But combined with the scent anomaly, they started forming a picture I didn't want to see. Vanessa had started working later hours. 2 or 3 evenings a week. She'd text me around 5:30 or 6 p.m., client meeting running long. Home by 8. She'd come home at 8:15, go straight upstairs without stop and talk to me, shower immediately, 20 to 30 minutes, then come back down for a late dinner. And when she came back down, she'd have that aquatic eucalyptus scent. Every single time she came home late from a client meeting, She showered immediately and emerged smelling like that men's body wash. Her phone behavior had changed dramatically. For 8 years, Vanessa had been casual about her phone. She'd leave it on the kitchen counter while cooking, on the coffee table while watching TV, plugged in on her nightstand while sleeping. If I picked it up to hand it to her, or check the time, she never seemed to care. Starting around the same time as the scent change, her phone became a source of constant vigilance. She carried it everywhere, to the bathroom, to the kitchen to get water, out to the car to grab something she'd forgotten. It was always in her hand or her pocket. When she did set it down, it was always face down, always angled, so I couldn't see the screen if a notification came through. When she was typing, she'd shift her body position to block my view, even though I wasn't trying to look. New work project. I asked once when I noticed her texting intently during a TV show we were supposedly watching together. What? You're texting a lot. Must be an important client. Just coordinating some deliverables. Nothing exciting. But the smile on her face while she was texting didn't match. Nothing exciting. It was the kind of smile someone has when they're talking to someone they really want to be talking to. The physical intimacy between us had decreased significantly. We'd always had a healthy, intimate life. Not every day, but regularly, several times a week. It was an important part of our connection. Over the 3 months since the scent change appeared, that had dropped off a cliff. We'd gone from several times a week to once every 2 weeks, to almost nothing. Everything okay? I'd ask when I'd try to initiate, and she'd pull away. Just tired. Work has been really intense lately. We could just cuddle. Stay close. I know, but I'm exhausted. Can we just sleep tonight? But she didn't seem exhausted. She'd come to bed after her evening shower, get under the covers, and immediately pull out her phone. She'd text for 30 to 45 minutes, smiling at the screen, completely absorbed. Not tired, not exhausted, just not interested in being close to me. 1 month into detecting the scent pattern consistently, I started having a suspicion I didn't want to acknowledge. The scent profile I was detecting, aquatic, eucalyptus, synthetic musk, was from a men's product. Vanessa wasn't using it herself. She claimed repeatedly she wasn't using anything new. But she was coming to bed every night with that scent on her skin and in her hair, which meant she was coming into contact with someone who used that product, coming into contact closely enough that the fragrance was transferring from their skin to hers. And she was showering immediately when she got home, trying to wash it off before I noticed. But showers don't completely remove fragrance compounds. They reduce them, but traces remain, especially in hair, which absorbs fragrance molecules readily and releases them slowly over time. She'd shower, thinking she'd washed away the evidence, then come to bed with enough trace compounds remaining for my trained nose to detect them. 2 months into noticing the pattern, I decided I needed to do more than just observe and suspect. I needed data. I'm a chemist. I identify compounds for a living. If there was a mystery scent, I could figure out exactly what it was and where it came from. One evening after Vanessa came to bed smelling like that aquatic eucalyptus profile, this was a Wednesday night, after she'd had a late client meeting, I waited until she was deeply asleep. Around 2 a.m., when her breathing was steady and she hadn't moved in over an hour. Then I carefully collected a scent sample using a technique we use in the lab for fragrance analysis. I pressed a clean, sterile cotton swab against her hair near her neck, where fragrance compounds tend to concentrate and linger, and sealed it in a glass vial. The next morning at work, I took the sample to our analytical lab. We have sophisticated equipment for identifying fragrance compounds. It's essential for our competitive analysis and quality control work. I ran the sample through our gas chromatography mass spectrometry system. This equipment separates and identifies individual chemical compounds in a mixture. It's the same technology used in forensic analysis, drug testing, environmental monitoring. In our work, we use it to reverse engineer competitor fragrances and verify our own formulations. The machine pulled apart the complex mixture of compounds on that cotton swab, the residual scents from Vanessa's own products, compounds from her natural body chemistry, environmental factors, and the mystery fragrance I'd been detecting. The results took 3 hours to process. When the report printed out, I sat at my desk reading through the compound list, and everything became clear. The mystery scent was from a specific men's body wash. I recognized the compound signature immediately because we'd analyzed this exact product for competitive research about 6 months ago. Axe Phoenix, a popular men's shower gel marketed toward younger men, available at any drugstore or supermarket. The distinctive aquatic eucalyptus profile I'd been detecting came from a very specific combination of synthetic compounds. Eucalyptol, the primary eucalyptus note geraniol, providing the aquatic freshness synthetic musks, specifically galaxolide the lasting base note menthol, creating that cooling sensation plus various other fixatives and enhancers. I've been smelling Axe Phoenix body wash on my wife every night for 2 months. A product we didn't have in our house. A product she claimed she wasn't using. A men's product that was somehow ending up on her skin and in her hair every single evening after her late client meetings. I sat in my lab, looking at the chromatography printout, staring at those compound names and concentration levels, understanding what they meant. Vanessa wasn't using a new body wash. She wasn't borrowing something from a friend. She wasn't testing samples at a store. She was coming into contact with someone who used Axe Phoenix body wash. Coming into contact closely enough, intimately enough, that the fragrance was transferring to her skin and hair in detectable concentrations. And then she was coming home, showering immediately to wash it off before I could notice, and thinking she'd successfully hidden it. But she hadn't understood the chemistry, hadn't realized that fragrance compounds bind to proteins in skin and hair. That regular soap and water will remove the surface layer, but leave molecular traces that persist. That someone with a trained nose and professional analytical equipment could detect those traces hours after she'd showered. She'd underestimated what a chemist could detect. My wife was having an affair. That's what the data told me. That's what 3 months of consistent scent detection, combined with behavioral changes and now analytical confirmation, all pointed to. She was seeing someone who used Axe Phoenix, probably after her late client meetings. Close contact, intimate contact. Then she'd rush home, shower to remove the evidence, and come to bed thinking she'd successfully hidden it. I sat in that lab for another hour, just processing, running through the last 3 months in my mind. All the late evenings, the immediate showers when she got home, the defensive reactions when I asked simple questions, the phone protection, the decreased intimacy, the scent I detected every single night. All of it made sense now. Horrible, perfect sense. I printed out the lab analysis report, filed it in a folder, made digital copies. This was evidence, scientific evidence, irrefutable data showing my wife had been in close physical contact with someone who used a specific men's grooming product that wasn't me. That evening, I came home at my normal time around 6 p.m. Vanessa was already there, working in her home design studio, the second bedroom we converted for her use. "Hey," I called out. "How was your day?" "Good. Busy. Just finishing up some mock-ups for a client presentation tomorrow." "That's the restaurant branding project." "Yeah. They want to see 3 different concepts. I'm trying to finish the 3rd one. Want to grab dinner out? That Thai place you love." "Sure. Let me just save this. Give me 10 minutes. We went to dinner. Sat at our usual table near the window. Ordered our usual dishes. Pad Thai for her, drunken noodles for me. We talked about normal things. Her projects. My work. A movie we'd both seen reviews for. It felt like any other evening from any other year of our marriage. Except I knew. I knew about Axe Phoenix. About the lab results. About what they meant. We came home around 8:30 p.m. Vanessa went upstairs almost immediately. "I'm going to take a quick shower," she said. "Long day, I want to wash it off." This had become her pattern on evenings. She didn't claim to have late meetings. Shower around 8:30 or 9, before bed. I'd thought it was a new routine. Some people do prefer evening showers. But now I understood it differently. She was showering every evening because most evenings she needed to wash off evidence I might detect. I heard the water running. 20 minutes later, she came down in pajamas, hair wet, ready to settle in for the evening. And there it was, that aquatic eucalyptus scent. Fainter than on nights, she came home late, probably because she hadn't seen him today, so it was just residual from yesterday or the day before. But still there. My trained nose caught it immediately. She settled on the couch next to me, picked up her phone, started texting with that small smile. I looked at my wife, at this person I'd been married to for 8 years, who I'd trusted completely, who I'd helped build a life with, who I'd supported through career changes and creative struggles, and all the normal challenges of partnership. who had been lying to me for at least 3 months, who thought she could hide an affair from a chemist whose entire professional expertise was detecting and identifying scents. Vanessa, I need to tell you something. She looked up from her phone. What's up? I'm a chemist. Specifically, I'm a fragrance chemist. I analyze scent compounds for a living. It's what I've done for 15 years. I know that. Why are you telling me your job description? Because for 3 months, you've been coming to bed smelling like a men's body wash. Specifically, Axe Phoenix Shower Gel. A product we don't have in our house. A product you claim you're not using. Her face went pale. The phone slipped slightly in her hand. I noticed the first night. I told you something smelled different. You said I was imagining it. But I wasn't. Owen, I detected it every night for 2 months. Same scent profile. Aquatic notes, eucalyptus, synthetic musk base. Very distinctive. So distinctive that last week, I collected a sample from your hair while you were sleeping. I ran it through our gas chromatography mass spectrometry system at work. I pulled out my phone, showed her the lab report I'd saved as a PDF, the compound list, the analysis, the identification of Axe Phoenix body wash. This is scientific analysis of the fragrance compounds I've been detecting on you for 3 months. I know exactly what product it is. I know the molecular composition. I know you're not using it yourself, which means you're coming into contact with someone who uses it. Close enough contact that it transfers to your skin and hair. She stared at the lab report, tears forming in her eyes. So I'm going to ask you directly. Who are you seeing that uses Axe Phoenix body wash? The silence stretched for what felt like minutes, but was probably only 15 seconds. His name is Tyler, she finally said, voice barely above a whisper. Tyler. He's a client. We've been working together on a branding project for his tech startup. And you've been sleeping with him. She nodded, tears streaming down her face now. For how long? 3 months. Since April. 3 months. The exact amount of time I've been detecting Axe Phoenix on you every night. I didn't think you'd notice. You didn't think a fragrance chemist would notice a new scent? Vanessa, I identify compounds at the molecular level. I can detect fragrances in concentrations of parts per billion. You came home wearing someone else's body wash and thought I wouldn't notice. I showered. Every time. I thought that would. Showering reduces fragrance concentration, but doesn't eliminate it. The compounds bind to keratin proteins in your hair and skin. They don't wash away completely with soap and water. You needed a chelating agent or a high pH surfactant to break down the molecular bonds. But you wouldn't know that because you're not a chemist. She looked at me, devastated. Are you seriously explaining the chemistry of how I should have covered up my affair? I'm explaining why you couldn't. Why I knew. Why all those showers didn't hide what you were doing. Why I smelled them on you every single night for 3 months. I'm so sorry. Where do you meet him? What? What do you meet Tyler? You're not coming home smelling like shower gel from casual contact at business meetings. You're coming home smelling like you've been physically close to him. Very close. Skin to skin. That's the only way to transfer fragrance compounds at the concentrations I was detecting. She looked down. His apartment. Sometimes after our meetings. Sometimes during lunch. Once or twice at a hotel. And then you come home at 8 p.m., tell me you had a late client meeting, go straight upstairs and shower, trying to wash off the evidence. But the molecular traces remained. I detected them every single night. I didn't want to hurt you. Then you shouldn't have slept with someone else. You certainly shouldn't have come home and lied to me about it for 3 months. I stood up, grabbed my keys and my wallet. Where are you going? Hotel. I'm staying there tonight. Tomorrow I'm calling a divorce attorney. Oh, and please, can we talk about this? We just did. You've been having an affair for 3 months. You've been lying about client meetings. You've been showering to wash off evidence of being with him. And you thought you could hide it from someone whose job is literally detecting and identifying scents. There's nothing left to talk about. But we could try to fix this. Fix what? The trust? The 3 months of lies? The fact that every night when you came to bed smelling like Axe Phoenix, you were bringing him into our bedroom, whether you realized it or not. She was crying harder now. You know what the worst part is? I gave you multiple chances to tell me the truth. The first night I detected it, I asked if you'd change products. You said no and told me I was imagining it. I gave you an opening to explain. You chose to lie. I was scared. You were calculating. You thought you could hide it. You underestimated what I could detect. And now here we are. I walked to the door. Oh, and wait. Please. I've been sleeping next to you for 3 months, knowing you smelled like another man. Wondering if I was wrong. Hoping I was wrong. Then confirming scientifically that I was right. I've given you 3 months of benefit of the doubt. That's more than you deserved. What about our marriage? 8 years together. You should have thought about that before you started seeing Tyler. You made your choice 3 months ago. I'm making mine now. I left. Heard her sobbing behind me as I closed the door. I drove to a hotel near Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Checked in. Sat in the generic room, staring at generic art on generic walls, processing everything. My wife had been having an affair for 3 months. She tried to hide it by showering immediately when she got home. She thought that would be enough. But she'd married a chemist. Someone who understands molecular structures and binding sites and concentration ratios. Someone trained to detect trace amounts of compounds in complex mixtures. She'd underestimated what I could perceive, what I could prove. I pulled out my phone and searched for divorce attorneys in Atlanta. Found one with excellent reviews. Richard Santos, specializing in high-asset divorces with complicated evidence. I sent an email that night, even though it was 11 p.m. Mr. Santos, I need representation for a divorce filing. I discover my wife's affair through analytical chemistry methods and have laboratory documentation available to meet at your earliest convenience. He responded within 20 minutes. Mr. Owen, I receive your message. This is an unusual situation. I'm available tomorrow at 2 p.m. if that works for you. Please bring any documentation you mentioned. Monday afternoon, I sat in Richard Santos's office. He was in his 50s, sharp-eyed professional. You said you discovered your wife's affair through chemistry? He asked. I'm a fragrance chemist. 3 months ago, my wife started coming to bed every night smelling like a men's body wash we don't own. I detected it immediately. Identifying scents is my profession. She claimed she wasn't using anything new. I showed her my documentation, the timeline I'd kept, the notes about when I detected the scent and how strong it was, the behavioral changes I'd observed. Then I showed him the lab report, the gas chromatography mass spectrometry analysis, the identification of Axe Phoenix body wash, the compound list. This is scientific evidence that she was in close physical contact with someone who uses this specific product. Close enough for fragrance transfer. For 3 months. Richard studied the documents carefully. This is the most unusual evidence I've ever seen in a divorce case. But it's also remarkably thorough. You've essentially proven through analytical chemistry that your wife was having physical contact with someone else. She admitted it when I confronted her. Said his name is Tyler. They've been seeing each other for 3 months. Do you have any other evidence? I have 3 months of documented behavioral changes. Late nights claimed to be client meetings. Immediate showers when she got home. Phone protection. Decreased intimacy. All correlating with the scent detection. And she admitted to the affair. Confirmed everything. 3 months. Multiple meetings. His apartment. Hotels. During supposed work hours. Richard nodded slowly. Georgia requires corroboration for adultery in divorce proceedings. But we have your scientific analysis, her admission, and months of documented suspicious behavior. That's more than sufficient. How long does this process take? In Georgia, there's a 30-day waiting period after filing before the case can proceed. But given the circumstances, documented infidelity, no children, relatively straightforward asset division, we can likely settle within 90 days. Let's file immediately. Richard drafted the papers that afternoon. Included the laboratory analysis as evidence. Cited the admission Vanessa had made. Filed everything with the court by end of business Monday. Vanessa was served Tuesday afternoon while she was working in her home studio. She called me within minutes. I'd expected it, so I answered. You filed for divorce? Already. You had an affair for 3 months. What did you expect? I thought we'd talk about it. Try counseling. Work through this. There's nothing to work through. You made a choice to see Tyler. I'm making a choice to divorce you. This is because of the scent thing? Because you're a chemist and you detected. This is because you had an affair. The scent detection was how I knew. But you're the one who did it. Don't blame me for being observant. I ended it with Tyler. Last night after you left. I told him it's over. We can start fresh. You ended it because you got caught. Not because you wanted to. That's not starting fresh. That's damage control. Oh, and please. 8 years of marriage. Doesn't that mean anything? It meant everything. Until you decided it didn't mean enough to keep you from sleeping with someone else. You made your choice. Now live with it. You're being cold. I'm being factual. I detected evidence of infidelity for 3 months. I documented it. I analyzed it scientifically. I confronted you with data. You admitted everything. Now I'm responding appropriately. That's not cold. That's logical. You don't even want to try? Try what? To rebuild trust with someone who lied to me every day for 3 months? Who came to bed every night wearing another man's scent? Who thought she could hide an affair from someone whose job is detecting scents? No, I don't want to try. I want a divorce. Vanessa hired an attorney, a woman named Patricia Blake, who reached out to Richard within a day. The settlement negotiations were brief. Patricia tried initially to argue that my scent detection evidence was too subjective. Richard shut that down by presenting the laboratory analysis. My client didn't just smell something different. He identified the specific product through analytical chemistry. Gas chromatography mass spectrometry is an accepted scientific method used in forensic analysis, pharmaceutical research, and quality control. This isn't subjective. This is molecular-level identification of fragrance compounds. Patricia tried to claim that scent transfer doesn't necessarily prove infidelity. Richard presented Vanessa's admission. Mrs. Owen admitted to a 3-month affair with a man named Tyler, confirmed multiple meetings, and acknowledged the attempts to hide it through immediate showers. The scent evidence led to the discovery, but her own admission proves the infidelity. Patricia tried to argue for a 50-50 split of all assets, including the townhouse. Richard countered with documentation that I'd paid 70% of the down payment from premarital savings and had contributed 65% of the mortgage payments throughout our marriage. My client's larger financial contribution, combined with documented infidelity, supports a division weighted in his favor. We settled within 5 weeks. Fast for a divorce, but the evidence was clear and neither party wanted to drag it out. I kept the townhouse. Vanessa received 30% of our joint savings accounts. We each kept our own retirement accounts and business equipment. I kept the car we'd bought together since I'd paid for most of it. No alimony for either party. 8 years of marriage dissolved in 5 weeks because she underestimated what a chemist's nose could detect. I heard what happened afterward through mutual friends in Atlanta's creative community. Vanessa tried to continue her relationship with Tyler after the divorce was filed. It lasted approximately 6 weeks. Turned out Tyler had enjoyed the affair, the secrecy, the excitement, the stolen moments. When it became a legitimate relationship, when Vanessa was actually available, he lost interest. He liked the thrill, not the substance. He broke up with her in July, right as the divorce was finalizing. Vanessa also faced professional consequences. Her story, that her chemist husband had identified her affair by detecting her lover's body wash, became known in Atlanta's design and tech circles. It was too unique not to spread. Several clients found it unprofessional and ended their contracts. Her reputation suffered. She lost almost 40% of her client base within 3 months. She eventually moved to Charlotte, North Carolina for a fresh start with a new professional network where the story hadn't followed her. She tried to reach out about a year after the divorce finalized. A long, emotional email about regret and mistakes and how I'd been obsessive about the scent thing. How most people wouldn't have noticed something so minor. I replied with one line. Most people aren't fragrance chemists. You married someone who detects compounds for a living. You wore evidence of your affair on your skin every night. That's not me being obsessive. That's you being careless. Then I blocked her email address. I kept the townhouse in Virginia Highland. Renovated Vanessa's former studio into a home gym. Removed every trace of her from the space. Made it entirely mine. The lab report, the gas chromatography mass spectrometry analysis that had confirmed what my nose had detected, I framed and hung in my home office. Not out of spite, but as a reminder. A reminder that data doesn't lie. That scientific analysis reveals truth. That training and expertise matter. About 18 months after the divorce finalized, I met someone at a cosmetics industry conference in Chicago. Her name was Rebecca. She was a quality control manager for a skincare company, understood analytical thinking, appreciated attention to detail. We started talking about fragrance chemistry at a networking mixer. She was intelligent, curious, asked good questions about methodology and analysis techniques. On our third date, dinner at a nice restaurant in Midtown Atlanta, she asked about my divorce. If you don't mind me asking, what happened? You don't have to share if it's too personal. I decided honesty was better. My ex-wife had an affair. I detected it because she kept coming to bed smelling like a men's body wash we didn't own. I'm a fragrance chemist. Identifying scents is literally my job. I noticed immediately. She claimed she wasn't using anything new. After 2 months, I ran an analytical test and identified the exact product. Confronted her, and she admitted everything. Rebecca's eyes widened. You detected her affair through scent analysis? Through scent detection first, then scientific analysis for confirmation. She was seeing someone who used Axe Phoenix body wash. After being with him, she'd shower at home to wash it off. But she didn't understand fragrance chemistry. Shower gel compounds bind to skin and hair proteins. Regular washing reduces them, but doesn't eliminate them. I detected trace amounts every night for 3 months. That's incredibly specific. That's my profession. I analyze fragrance compounds at molecular level for a living. When she started smelling different and claiming she wasn't using new products, I knew something was wrong. The scent profile didn't match anything we owned. What did she say when you confronted her with the lab analysis? She admitted to a 3-month affair with a client. Said she didn't think I'd noticed the scent. But you can't hide chemical compound from someone trained to detect them at parts per billion concentrations. Rebecca nodded thoughtfully. I work in quality control. I understand the mindset. When something deviates from baseline, you investigate. You don't ignore anomalies. Exactly. She thought showering would hide it. But to someone with a trained nose and access to analytical equipment, she might as well have been wearing a sign. That must have been painful. Detecting it every night for months. It was. But I needed to be sure before confronting her. I needed data, not just suspicion. Once I had the lab analysis, there was no ambiguity. Scientific evidence is irrefutable. We've been together for over a year now. Rebecca understands analytical thinking. She wears the same perfume consistently. A light floral scent I helped her choose based on her natural chemistry and the pH of her skin. No surprises. No unexplained scent changes. No mysteries. Just consistency. Which, after everything, is what I value most. My wife started coming to bed smelling like shower gel I'd never bought. For 3 months, every single night, I detected that aquatic eucalyptus profile. She thought I wouldn't notice. Thought showering would hide it. But I'm a chemist. I notice compounds. I identify sources. I analyze patterns. I don't guess. I measure and confirm. She was wearing evidence of her affair on her skin, in her hair, in molecular traces that persisted through showers, and told the story she was trying to hide. And I was trained enough to detect it, thorough enough to analyze it, professional enough to prove it scientifically. Some people said I was obsessive for noticing something as subtle as a scent change. But those people don't work in fragrance chemistry, don't understand that scents are molecular compounds with specific profiles that trained professionals can identify at extremely low concentrations. Vanessa came to bed smelling like Axe Phoenix for 3 months. She thought she'd successfully hidden her affair. She was wrong. Because when you marry a chemist whose entire career is built on detecting and analyzing scent compounds, you can't come home wearing someone else's body wash and expect them not to notice. The compounds don't lie. The chemistry doesn't lie. The data doesn't lie. And trained noses backed by analytical equipment detect what untrained noses miss. She smelled like Axe Phoenix. Every night. For 3 months. And I knew exactly what that meant. The lab report confirmed it. The confrontation proved it. And the divorce ended it. Because in chemistry, like in life, the truth always comes out in the analysis.